All right, let's dive into a really profound idea from a talk by Loon. He lays out this incredible concept. What if the key to getting out of our constant struggles isn't about changing the world around us, but about completely changing how we see it? It's all about a fundamental shift in perspective. Let's break it down.
Okay, so let's start with a huge question, one that gets right to the core of it all. Someone once asked the Buddha, straight up, what does it actually take to reach enlightenment? If you strip everything else away, what are the absolute non-negotiable essentials?
And the answer? It was beautifully simple. Just two things. First, you need mindfulness, or sati, which is basically the quality of being aware of paying attention. And second, you need wisdom, or panna, which is about having the right understanding of how things really work. That's it. These two pillars are the foundation for everything we're going to talk about. But, before we can get to freedom, we have to understand why we're trapped in the first place. The truth is, most of us are living our lives completely caught up in a personal story. And according to this teaching, that story is the very reason we suffer. Think of it this way. There are two zones you can be living in. There's the zone of suffering. This is our default mode, and it's fueled by craving and a serious lack of awareness. It's where we get stuck. But then there's the zone of freedom. And this place is unlocked by those two essentials we just mentioned, awareness and right understanding. The whole game is just learning how to shift from one zone to the other. So what's the engine that keeps us stuck in that zone of suffering? Well, it's this mental factor called craving. And what craving does is, it's kind of a trickster. Its main job is to send out a false signal, a signal that takes every single thing that happens and makes it feel like it's happening to me. It hijacks every experience and stamps this one single powerful word on it. Personal. My success, my failure. My pain, my problem. This deep-seated feeling of personalness is the core illusion that creates all the drama and all the suffering. So, if it isn't personal, then what is it? This, right here, is the big shift. The huge aha moment of the whole teaching. The alternative to seeing everything as personal is to see it for what it truly is, just nature. Now, what do we mean by nature? We're not talking about trees and oceans here. In this context, nature, or Dhamma, means that everything is just an impersonal process. Things happen because the right causes and conditions come together, and they stop happening when those conditions change. It's a universal law, and honestly, it has absolutely nothing to do with you personally. Loon gives this brilliant example. The sun doesn't have a meeting with the seed. The water isn't trying to cooperate. They're just doing what they do. They're being themselves. But when those conditions are right, a plant just appears. No personal story needed. The teaching says our thoughts, our feelings, they work the exact same way. And this idea just keeps expanding. You start to see that everything is interdependent. Every effect becomes a cause for the next thing in this endless, interconnected chain. Nothing, absolutely nothing exists all by itself. And here's the kicker. If it's all just one big flow, then nothing is happening for you or against you or even to you. It's just happening. Okay, so that's the theory. And it sounds pretty mind-bending, right? But how in the world do we put this into practice? If everything is just impersonal nature doing its thing, what's our part in all this? Well, the practice is actually one of radical non-interference. Which brings us to the big question. If you're not the CEO of your own mind, if you're not actually in charge of your body's processes, then what exactly is your job? What are you supposed to be doing? And the answer is just so simple. Don't poke, don't meddle, don't be a busybody trying to manage everything. Your only job is to notice. To simply be aware that the mind is doing its thing and the body is doing its thing. That's all. So what does that actually look like? Well, first, you just become aware that awareness is happening. You turn your attention to the knowing itself. Second, you stop getting hooked by the personal stories. I am so angry. I'm so tired. Instead, you just see the functions. You see the characteristics of anger or tiredness as impersonal events. And finally, you frame the whole experience with this new understanding. This is just nature. And when you can do that, when you can just rest in that simple, non-interfering observation, something truly extraordinary happens. This is where you find real freedom. All of a sudden, you're free. You realize you don't actually have any responsibility for managing your mind or fixing your body.
Why? Because they're not yours to manage in the first place. They're just nature doing its work. The enormous weight of being in charge of everything, it just dissolves.
You know, what's so wild about this is the simplicity. Craving, that trickster, it creates an infinite number of really complex ways for us to suffer. But the path to freedom, it's just one way. One single, direct understanding that you apply to absolutely everything. And the amazing result is that the change happens all by itself. You don't have to force your anger to go away. You don't have to wrestle your sadness into submission. When you just apply right understanding and see them as nature, they lose their fuel. They disappear without you even trying. The path, as he says, is extraordinarily simple. So we'll leave you with this final thought. In a world that is screaming at you to control, manage, and fix every tiny aspect of your life, what would change if you truly accepted that your only real responsibility was just to notice?